Chapter 16. Celia applied the final spray of perfume and checked her reflection from all angles. Her flowered dress and high ponytail reflected joy and positivity, something she had been wanting more of. It seemed church was a good place to continue her search. She'd spent almost 2 hours getting ready, and finally was satisfied with the end result. She'd spent even longer getting ready for dates with Patrick. For the first time in her life, she was going to church. Of course, the nerves were already wreaking havoc with her insides, and she wasn't even on her way yet. But she needed this. She wanted this. Besides, it was too late to back out now. Her phone chimed. Hanika texted they were here. Grabbing her purse, Celia locked up and hurried over to the rumbling Mustang. "Hi, thanks for picking me up," she said, climbing in and pulling on her seatbelt. "No problem," Cameron answered. "Yeah, anytime," Hanika said. Cameron is always happy to chauffeur, aren't you? "Yeah, thanks for volunteering me." The girls laughed. They drove past rows and rows of trees, a green blur outside the window. When Cameron slowed and put on his turn signal, Celia gripped the Bible on her lap. A young man in sports attire jogged down the shoulder. Jogged Celia's memory. She swallowed. "Hey, the Kime family, do they go to your church?" "No," Cameron said. "They go to a church in Conroe, I think. Speaking of them, though, Timothy is back home now. He's doing therapy and should be getting fitted for his prosthetic leg in a few weeks." Celia sat back. "That's great." She stared at the jogger as he grew more distant by the second. She wished her memories could be so diligent. After service, Celia fiddled with a bookmark in her Bible. The sermon, the fellowship, everything had gone great, but she felt exhausted and preoccupied. So in the sanctuary, Celia sat in the pew, alone with her many jumbling thoughts. On stage, Cameron smiled, saying something to Hanika while he strummed the guitar. He smiled at Hanika often, and his smile grew whenever she laughed at his jokes or antics. When he drew laughter from her, it added to his confidence in life. Celia couldn't count the number of times Patrick made her laugh. He had given her confidence, given her life, given her a reason to keep going, to get up every morning. "Cameron and I are practicing for a special," Hanika said, walking up alongside the pew and sitting beside her. "We're hoping to sing it next weekend. I'm so nervous, though." Celia smiled lightly. "I'm sure you'll do fine. I know I couldn't sing in front of a crowd, though. I'd faint." Hanika giggled with her. After a moment of comfortable silence, Hanika turned to her. "So how have you been, Celia? I can't imagine what you must be feeling, everything going on." "Well, your life has been no picnic either, from what you've told me. Seems we got the short end of the stick, huh?" "No." Celia's smile faded. "If we let it, it can be an honor to go through pain. Whatever I go through in this life, whatever I suffer, I want to endure for God's glory. Our attitude, our faith, our smile may be the only sermon someone ever hears." Celia swallowed with difficulty. "Wow." Silence filled the sanctuary, besides the quiet strumming of Cameron's guitar. Celia examined her nails. "You know, there's a part of me that feels sad Patrick is gone. There's a part of me that feels relieved. But deep down, I think why I'm sad is because I miss the relationship. Not him, necessarily. I miss having someone care about me in that way." Hanika nodded, eyes focused on her. "My life has never been easy. There were so many days I felt alone. And then even with Patrick, if I wasn't with him at least a couple times a week, I would start to feel anxiety that something had happened to him or he had grown tired of me and found someone better, someone prettier. It was exhausting. But he just manipulated me into thinking I needed him to survive. No, I said that wrong. I let myself be manipulated by him, and I don't want to do that anymore." She sighed, but her hands rested easy in her lap. Letting it all out was part of the healing process, and it was working. "Is it weird or wrong for me to miss that? To want a relationship?" "Of course not," Hanika responded. God designed marriage and said it was not good for man to be alone. Life is all about relationships, how we interact with people. I think because you didn't get a good role model in your father, you turned to Patrick quickly, wanting to find stability there. I lost my father and my mother, but I had great role models to follow. You'll find Mr. Right when the time's right. Celia ran a hand through her hair. Yeah, right now wouldn't be the best time, I guess. I need some time to recover. Yes, and while you wait, you've got friends and church family here, and a good God who loves you more than anyone. Spend time with him. Tell him how you're feeling. He'll help you and guide you if you ask him. Celia placed her hand on top of Annika's. Thanks, Annika. Thanks for being my sounding board. Annika squeezed her hand. You're welcome, sister. The food smells great, Mom. Cameron grabbed a napkin and set it beside his utensils. Sharon set a plate before him, piled high with fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans. He began to cut the chicken, though his appetite had diminished somewhat. I can't believe I forgot to tell Stu about dinner tonight. Well, I can believe it. It's just frustrating. Well, more food for you then. He gave a half-hearted smile. Cameron, it's not the end of the world. We'll pick another night and you two can come then. Yeah, I hope my dad can find a solution. She took her place beside him, setting a basket of rolls on the turntable. How is your father? Cameron glanced at her, grabbing a roll. Okay. I'm thankful to be talking with him again, but I'd be lying if I said it was easy and great and just like old times. Things between us will never be the same. I know. He buttered the bread. I haven't heard back from him in a while. Mom. He caught her gaze and held it. I wanted to propose to Annika soon. But now with all this, I don't know if I should. What if I forgot what time the wedding was or couldn't remember the vows? Cameron, don't worry about something before it happens. And don't beat yourself up. There's no point in that. I should know. I did a lot of that in my life. Yes, in their first visits she had apologized countless times, ridden with guilt for putting Cameron up for adoption at birth. But like you've told me, the past is in the past, she said. All we can do is move forward and do better. Cameron nodded. Why is it so hard to take your own advice? I'm sure your father will be able to help you. I know it's been hard, but I am thankful that he and your adopted mother raised you well. Made up for my mistake. You're a good man, and I'm proud of you. Cameron smiled despite the lump in his throat. Thanks, Mom. He rested a hand on hers. Good can come out of every situation. With me trying to find you, that led me to Annika. I'm so blessed to have met her, to be loved by her. She smiled and then pointed at his plate. You better eat before it gets cold. He dug in, munching on the crispy chicken. Feeling his phone vibrate, Cameron pulled it out of his jeans pocket. Oh, this is my reminder to plan Annika's birthday party. I really want to make this birthday memorable. I definitely can't forget. Definitely. I'll make sure you remember. I have an idea for her present, but I'm not exactly sure how to do it. Do you think you'd be able to help me? She gave his wrist a squeeze. I just might. Grabbing her shopping bags and purse from the passenger seat, Annika headed toward her apartment. What a great birthday. She glanced down at the purple birthday ribbon pinned to her shirt. Jake had given it to her, so practically every customer wished her a happy birthday. And thanks to Crystal, Annika carried 2 brand new pairs of high heels. Now Cameron was taking her out to dinner. All she had to do was change clothes and wait for him. Annika unlocked the door and stepped inside, then gasped, hands shooting up to her mouth. Uncle Isaac and Aunt Sylvia were in the kitchen. Surprise! They exclaimed in unison. Leaving the door wide open, Annika threw her arms around them. Hey, what are y'all doing here? When did you get here? A couple hours ago, her uncle answered. It's not every day you turn 25, Nika. Annika brushed away a tear before it fell. Oh, thank y'all so much. Knock, knock. Is the birthday girl here? A familiar voice asked. Annika turned. Cameron! She hugged him tightly. Did you know about this?" "He did?" Aunt Sylvia turned off the burners on the stove. "Cameron's the one who sent us the tickets to come." Annika looked up at Cameron. He winked, those sapphire eyes sparkling. "Your Thea has been slaving over the stove, and I can't wait any longer," Uncle Isaac said. "Let's eat!" "You and Cameron go sit down." Aunt Sylvia ushered them toward the dining room. "We'll bring the food to the table." As they started setting out the Spanish rice, beans, tortillas, and mole, Annika took her place beside Cameron, where she always wanted to be. "Cameron, thank you." She enfolded his hand in both of hers. "I don't know what to say." "You're welcome." He kissed her forehead. "You deserve it." "No." She shook her head. "No, I don't." She had done nothing to deserve Cameron, this family, the food they were about to eat, or the roof over their heads. She had done nothing to deserve the awesome God who put those things in her life. All she tried to do was keep living a life that overflowed with thankfulness for those gifts, by pouring out God's love into everyone she met. After they prayed over the food in Annika's new year of life, Aunt Sylvia served herself some mole and then placed the pan in front of Cameron. "Are you going to try some, Cameron?" Actually, I was just going to have beans and rice." Annika nudged him. "Well, it is my birthday, Cameron. And that would be like the greatest gift of all, seeing you try some mole." He looked back at the dish, wavering, lip twisting in amusement and nervousness. "Just one bite. For me? Please?" She smiled her prettiest. Uncle Isaac took a bite. "Don't look her in the eye, son. That's how she gets me." Everyone laughed as Cameron covered his eyes and turned away. "No, don't look at me. Please." All right. He reached for the spoon. "I'll try it." "Yay!" Annika pulled out her phone. "This is a monumental moment. I gotta record this." He spooned a small piece of the chocolate sauce-covered chicken onto his plate and laughed nervously. "Is it on? I don't want you to say it wasn't recording and make me take another bite." It's on, I promise." For effect, he rolled out the kinks in his neck and took a deep breath. "Whew, okay. Annika, if this doesn't prove my love to you, nothing will." Slowly, Cameron took a bite, chewed, and then gagged. "Come on, Cam, it's not that bad. Swallow, you can do it," Annika encouraged. He laughed. "I'm kidding. It's actually not that bad." Cameron finished chewing and swallowed. "All right, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be." Cheers and applause rang up around the table. "Would you like some more?" Uncle Isaac asked. Cameron smiled, then shook his head. "No, thank you." Annika kissed his cheek. "That was great. I'm so proud of you." The meal was filled with laughter, stories of Annika as a child, some embarrassing, where she hid her face in Cameron's shoulder, and Spanish phrases that Cameron didn't understand. They'd translate, and then he'd laugh and shake his head. Once her family said goodnight and headed for the guest room, Annika walked Cameron to the door. She tightened her grip on his hand, not wanting to part from him. Ever. "Cameron, thank you so much for tonight." "It's not over yet." Grinning, he revealed a gold gift bag hidden behind the paper towel holder. "I thought bringing Theo and Thea here was the present." "Part of it. I wanted to make this day extra special for you." She looked at him, fingering the handles of the bag. "Cameron, every day's my birthday when I'm with you." He smiled. Pulling out the tissue paper, Annika found a tiny red jewelry box, and inside lay a silver heart-shaped locket with the imprinted words, "Love never fails." She gasped lightly, picking it up, watching it dangle and sparkle. "Oh, it's beautiful! I love it!" She ran her thumb over the words. "And this is my favorite verse!" "See what's inside." Curious, she pried it open. On the left, she and Cameron smiled softly, their eyes closed, foreheads touching. Her parents claimed the other side, posed the exact same way. Her hand went to her mouth, her throat closed. Her uncle's words came back to her. "When I looked at you and Cameron, I saw your mother and father." The faces blurred. "Happy birthday, Annika." Unable to speak, she wrapped her arms around Cameron's neck and held on.